But landing safely on the floating runway is by far the most difficult maneuver. As the pilot makes the final approach, the aircraft is descending from the sky at a speed of 160 miles per hour. The landing area on the moving ship is just 100 yards wide and under 200 yards long.
You're trying to put that airplane in a very specific spot of the moving target.
Retired Navy Commander Michael Whitty flew F-14s from U.S. aircraft carriers for 13 years.
It's hard to describe the experience. It's one that requires total concentration of all your efforts.
3273 miles, approaching flight path.
Although accidents are rare, the pilots and flight deck crew are trained to be prepared for disaster at any time. In July 1994, 150 miles off the coast of Japan, the USS Kitty Hawk is flying air intercept training missions, launching and landing over 100 F-14s around the clock. Just after 10 p.m., on a moonless, windy night, Lieutenant Arnold and co-pilot Lieutenant Commander Jennings take off on a routine night flight. After an uneventful 90-minute mission, they are heading for home.
205, Roger.
From the carrier's deck, they are just a point of light in the inky sky. But as the jet bears down on the Kitty Hawk, 5-foot waves are rocking the giant carrier. Just 12 seconds out, the landing signal officer gives instructions for the pilot to maintain his rate of descent.
Deck's coming down, hold what you got. You're on glide slope, hold what you got.
At the last minute, the landing signal officer realizes the jet is losing height rapidly. He instructs the pilot to boost power.
Just a little low, little power. Deck's coming down.
But it's too late.
Little power, 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 power.
The F-14 is ripped in half on impact. The pilots can be seen ejecting before the burning wreckage slides into the sea. The crash and salvage crews race to put out the burning plane. Co-pilot Jennings parachutes safely onto the deck, but the gusting wind blows pilot Arnold into the middle of the blaze.
Get him out of there! Get him out of the fire!
It's a horrifying moment for young seamen like Alan Wyman.
One of the pilots landed right in front of me on fire, so we had to get him put out. It was just hell. Fire everywhere, burning debris flying.
Instantly, hours of emergency training kick in.
I didn't have to think to react. I reacted knowing what to do automatically.
The fire crew douses the wreckage with foam. Within just 2 minutes, the blaze is defeated and the 2 pilots are rescued. In the aftermath, the Navy conducts a thorough investigation to discover the cause of the crash. In normal conditions, an F-14 is guided into landing by instruments in the cockpit and on the flight deck. They help keep the plane aligned with the center of the landing area and on the correct 3-degree angle of approach. But in dark, choppy conditions, like those that the Kitty Hawk faced that night, the challenge is more complex.
The deck could actually be pitching up and down and shifting left and right. At night, you don't have any peripheral cues, they're just gone.
The flight deck crew, led by the landing signal officer, can choose to guide the aircraft in verbally, ordering the pilot to ignore his instrument readings. A computer simulation of the Kitty Hawk crash helps investigators understand what happened that night.
It was a combination of a pitching deck and then pilot reduced power. Within just a few short seconds, the airplane hit the back end of the ship.
The pilots and flight deck crew tell Navy investigators that the carrier dipped in the heavy seas just before landing. The sight of the deck falling away from him prompted a reflex power reduction by pilot Arnold, who has made few night landings. The landing signal officer's desperate cries to increase power were too late for the pilot to react before the deck rose again. The Navy report rules that no disciplinary action is necessary against either pilot. Both return to duty after treatment for minor injuries. However, the report does recommend a review of rough sea landings to reduce the risk of such accidents happening again. For the Kitty Hawk's crash and salvage crew, their rigorous training paid off. But the reality of a real-life emergency is still sinking in.
Nothing could ever prepare you for that. It's terrible.
The flight deck crew are awarded medals for their heroic efforts. It's a rare acknowledgement for the pilots and crew of America's aircraft carriers who successfully execute this most difficult of aeronautical maneuvers dozens of times every day. It's a maneuver that, even in an age of technology, still depends on strong nerves and a pilot's instinct for survival. Unpredictable danger is just part of the job for the men and women who defend the nation's interests on the high seas.